Actually from Scottsdale to speak to Scott, and we are in LA, Chinatown actually, hanging out with my younger son and his roommates, and Scott here is, they're all hanging out there, and Scott here is a Icon graduate. Scott, tell me what Icon is about.
Icon is a music production school here in Los Angeles that really focuses on building a whole artist in the modern era with new recording technology, new music production technology, and creation software, as well as like the skill sets necessary to mix music, master music, write music, and produce music. So it's a very well-rounded program, but it's a one-year program, so they crank it out really fast. But yeah, me and all my roommates, we all went there and finished up in October. And since then, we've all been branching out into our respective areas of the music industry.
So, the music industry is something that I absolutely love, right? Everyone loves sound, everyone loves music. But as a healthcare professional, and one of the things that I really want to kind of talk about today is, I love music. I know you do. I know everyone out there loves music. But how loud is safe? And most people talk about things like decibels and turn up the volume to 8 or 10, but what does that really mean? And I know that being in the industry and being at that school, they really are telling you to take care of your ears, right? Because at the end of the day, think about it, if you can't hear what you love listening to, then why are we doing this, right? Why are we listening to music that now 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, I can't hear? So tell me about loudness and what's safe, what isn't safe, and what people should do.
So yeah, in today's world, we're bombarded with sound at all times, pretty much, and it's very, very important to be aware of how loud is too loud. And I know for me, my ears are my life. My ears are my livelihood. It's how what I'm building my career off of is my ears. And when you're listening to music, 6, 8, 10 plus hours a day, you have to be very conscious of the volume at which you're working. And in our culture today, between going out to bars, the nightlife, going to concerts and music festivals, they've just gotten louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And basically, what we're dealing with is these levels are unhealthy for your ears, and you're doing permanent damage to your ears at these levels. And how we measure loudness in music and in physics is the decibel. That's the unit of measurement. And basically, anything below 80 decibels is pretty much regular life volume. That's where this conversation is happening somewhere below 80 decibels. You're watching TV at home. Most of the time, it's unless you're blasting it, it's gonna you're gonna be under 80 decibels. But once you start like getting up to the level of like say a blender or something non-musical, that's kind of what over 80 would sound like. That's probably 85, 90 decibels. Okay. But music, when you're experiencing music in these live venues, 9 times out of 10, you're in an environment that is well upwards of 80 decibels. We're talking in some cases upwards of 120 decibels, in which your ears cannot take 5 minutes of before you're doing permanent damage.
Wow.
5 sustained minutes of 120 decibels, you're doing permanent damage to your ears, both on a volume, like you're not going to be able to hear as loud ever again, and you're not going to be able to hear as wide of a frequency range. So you're doing permanent damage at that point once you're going past 80. And basically what happens, every 5 decibels that you go up past 80, you're cutting the safe amount of time of exposure time. So if you're exposing yourself at 100 decibels, you can only be at 100 decibels for less than an hour, about 45 minutes or less. And then once you go to 105 decibels, we're talking 20 minutes. And then you go to 110, you're down to 10 minutes. And then you go to 100, you're around 120, it's less than 5 minutes. Actually, it's really less than 2 minutes at that point. So you need to be very conscious of where, how loud it is where you're at. And easy ways to do that is I just have a cell phone app that just measures the amount of decibels, and it can tell me. I use it for when I'm working, to make sure that I'm monitoring my music or playing my music when I'm creating it at a moderate volume that my ears can take for hours and hours of sustained work.
So let's just kind of recap this. If there's an app available that you can use to basically measure the decibels.
Yep.
And so if it's 80 or less, that's actually a safe zone.
Yep.
And you could be working at those levels of sound for how long? 10, 15, 20 hours?
A whole day. A whole day. Your ears are adapted to be in that range.
Okay.
Your ears function the best in that 80 decibels to about 40 decibel range.
So then when you go to these concerts, how long should a concert be really run if it's going to be something where it's going to cause some damage above 80?
Well, what's happened in the concert industry and the nightlife industry is, and it's also happened in the music industry from like the standpoint of recorded music is now louder. Like when you listen to something on SoundCloud or YouTube, it's louder than what it would have been listening to a CD on this in your car. So say you pop in a CD to your car that came out, in the last 10 years. If you're still using CDs, it probably was from 2005 anyway. So you're listening to a CD from 2005 at the same volume on your car's volume knob versus plugging your phone in and playing that same song off of a streaming website like SoundCloud or YouTube. It's going to be louder than that CD was because the music has been mastered louder. So there's this loudness war that's happening in music because there's this psychological tendency that what grabs a listener is what's louder. Like it literally, it's literally, it's in our biology. The loudest noise is going to get our attention.
So it's almost like you're screaming for attention.
Yes. So everyone who's trying to cut through the noise of the music industry is trying to make their music louder. And from a live standpoint, for live music, whether it's a DJ in a club or a live band or something like that, they want the experience to be audio visual right up here and really grabbing and holding your attention. Imagine if you were at a dance music festival or somewhere where the music is everything. You're not really there to talk to people.
Right.
If the music's not loud enough, the whole vibe is ruined, and everyone's just like I can barely hear what they're playing. The people are able to talk over the music. Right. You can't hear anything. So there's this kind of battle that's going on that's just keeping things really loud, and it's fine as long as you know how to protect yourself.
So how do you protect yourself?
It's very simple. You can get really, really cheap earplugs. Okay. You can buy them on Amazon for like $10. You can get foam earplugs. You don't need expensive earplugs. You can get expensive earplugs that they won't degrade the quality of the sound. They will merely drop it a certain decibel level. And you can actually buy different decibel levels. If you want to get ones that will subtract 20 decibels or 30, 40. That's generally the range that you can get. I think you can get like 10 and 15 as well. But yeah, you can buy more expensive custom-made earplugs from professionals that actually focus in this part of the industry that are really good quality, and they will preserve the audio quality. They won't filter out any frequencies. If you get the cheap ones, I actually prefer the cheap ones because they actually protect your ears the most, but it comes at the cost of you do sacrifice some of the quality of audio, in which basically what happens is it rolls off some of the higher frequencies that you're not going to get all of the crisp, high, clear frequencies that happen in music and stuff like that. That's where your higher kind of sounds are. But for me, those are the most piercing sounds. Those are the most damaging sounds. Bass is not as damaging to your ears. Yes. It's felt through the floors, it's felt through your body. It's not as much picked up by your tiny eardrums. Yes. It's more so felt. So I'm cool with having more bass and less of that piercing high end, which is okay for me, but some people really like to preserve the audio quality so they get the better earplugs. But it's as simple as just getting yourself a pair of earplugs, and when you're out at a concert, when you're out at a nightclub, or you're just at any place that might be dangerously loud, then just pop in your earplugs and you can enjoy yourself just as you normally would.
That's awesome. So for me, from a health standpoint, what I talk about when it comes to the ears is that it has the smallest bones in the body, and it has very, very sensitive muscles that actually help those bones vibrate, that then creates the sound that you pick up. And when you go into high stress, high sound areas, you're actually stressing those muscles out.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why when you walk out of a concert, you kind of feel that ringing in the ear, and you're actually having to talk louder.
Yeah.
Because the body itself is protecting you by reducing the sensitivity of that muscle so that it doesn't send that sound out to the brain and to the nerves that can then damage those nerves. So a simple thing that I like to recommend to my clients and patients is that, look, keep those ears safe by using earplugs, like what you just said, but also nutritionally help your body to recover from that. So one of the nice ways to nutritionally recover is, number one, simple thing, water. We just don't drink enough water, right? So staying well hydrated helps those muscles because they're tiny muscles. Number two is trace minerals. A lot of times if you just take some good multivitamins with extra trace minerals, it'll actually help you. Number three, take some fish oils, because that actually helps as well to calm down how much kind of an inflammation that we're creating with the sound, and so that allows you to recover from that as well. So I'm really glad I got to talk to you about this, because from my end, I love music, and I've always kind of wondered how my children and the generation that you're all part of, how you were approaching it, because it always felt like, like you said, the music just kept getting louder and louder. And to me, it's like my sight or any of my senses, right? At the end of the day, if I'm really going to experience this world and what it has to offer, for me personally, I want to make sure that I maintain my senses, all my senses, the taste, because I'm a foodie. I know you are too, right? So enjoying that, the senses in terms of eyes, I want to make sure I'm able to see things, and I definitely want to make sure that I can hear things. So I'm really glad that we got to talk about this. This is awesome.
Yeah, no.
And hey, let's continue enjoying the rest of the day, hang out and go see the rest of LA. And I know you guys are living here in Chinatown, so I'm going to have a good time hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
And thank you guys, because that's what it's all about, is taking care of yourself. And Scott, thank you so very much.
Thanks again, Vimal. And take care of your ears.
Yes,
take breaks,
absolutely.
wear earplugs.
And remember, there's a war on your ears. Make sure we take care of that, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks again.